So my pastor asked me if I would lead a commission at our church on evangelization and discipleship. And I said, sure. Now, I should admit, I really didn't know what those words meant. I didn't understand the implications of that, but I said, sure, why not? And I felt like I needed to learn more about it. And I wound up reading probably 20 books on the topic of evangelization, discipleship, parish communities, and so forth. So we founded Loving Stones of Christ because we really saw a need in parishes and Catholic communities to make disciples and send apostles. We saw some great resources already coming to fruition to really help people encounter Christ and go through that decision-making process to choose to be a Christian or choose to be Catholic. But after that, we really saw a need out there, and in talking not just to leaders, but also just everyday Christians, everyday Catholics. Well, one of the first things we did is we said, um, how did Jesus bring people to faith? And when you look through the Gospels, we see this pattern of Jesus encountering people and people encountering Christ. And Jesus looks at them with love and offers them what they need right there in the moment. And that encounter with Christ, that encounter with that great love, changes people. They respond to it. And oftentimes they respond with a decision that they want to follow Christ as his disciple. And so you see this we see this encounter leading to conversion, which then leads to a life of discipleship, trying to follow Jesus' teachings, follow his examples, imitate Christ. And ultimately, then they would start thinking about, well, how do I bring other souls to Christ as well? And so they then start shifting their focus from just themselves to really the souls around them. And they're ready to be sent as an apostle. So an apostle is a disciple who is sent to share the good news, share the gospel with others, and to lead others to Christ. And so they're still a disciple, but they're an apostle as well. And so we saw these four steps, this encounter that leads to conversion, that leads to discipleship, that leads to apostleship. We call those the four spiritual growth points, because we see this model consistently going through where people go through these four steps. And we thought, well, how do we help nurture a culture of encounter where people are always encountering Christ at the church in their ministries and so forth? And we came up with four ways that work consistently in parishes, and they're starting with prayer, of course. So when a ministry or a church prays for those in their community, prays for those in their ministry, but also prays for those that need to come. That's really important. And when people do come, they welcome them. So they welcome not just the regulars, but also newcomers and visitors. And then as people join the community, they encourage them to grow spiritually. They encourage them in whatever they need to grow. And they share their faith to help encourage people as well. And finally, the community is generous with one another. They're generous in serving their needs within the church community, but also generous in serving the needs of people that they minister to within and beyond the community as well. And so we take these four ideas: prayer, welcoming, encouraging, and generous, and abbreviate as PWEG for short. But really, when you do these four together, you create a culture of encounter where people are more likely to experience God and experience his love and grow spiritually. And so we see a place for growth within the church because of this. And finally, we see the way that the church can organize around the Great Commandment and Great Commission. As a community, we love God through the Mass and sacraments. As a community, we love neighbor through our ministries at our church and parish and the like. We help people grow spiritually as disciples through our faith formation programs and evangelization programs, and then ultimately help raise apostles who are sent out to bring more people into the fold and lead more people to Christ. And so you can even organize a community or a parish around these four things. So we take these three broad concepts of how people grow spiritually, creating this culture of encounter with prayer, welcoming, encouraging, generosity, and organizing around the Great Commandments and Great Commissions. And we call this whole thing the Way of Loving Stones. And so the Way of Loving Stones is a response to Jesus's mission to go into the world and make disciples, and its response to the Great Commandments, and its response to His vision for the kingdom of God, where people love God, love neighbor, and then make disciples and send apostles. Our mission as Loving Stones lay apostolate is to really help others by offering them the resources for discipleship, resources for apostleship, to help people to grow as disciples and apostles that can help build the kingdom of God in their own community, whether it's a parish or other church community.